Hey all, here are OS Reviews. BenQ these days is perhaps best known for their display products, including monitors as well as projectors, but they were also one of the first companies to make a screen bar that can be mounted really easily onto the top of your monitor for work and just cast a very soft and gentle glow without adding glare onto the display. As monitor lamps became more and more popular, this category just became increasingly competitive. But credit where it's due, BenQ was one of the original inventors and movers in this space. Now they've come out with another model in this line, which is called the LaptopBar. And what's unique about this particular model is it actually is elevated slightly higher above the screen, providing even more angles and adjustability. Whether you want the height to be higher or lower, you can all play around with those settings. Here is the folded form, which looks really similar to their existing products, versus the expanded form being a lot taller and illuminating a larger surface. It still retains the touch sensitivity and auto-dimming functions, adjusting the brightness automatically accordingly using that sensor. The LED light color can also turn warmer versus colder depending on what you're trying to do. Plus the materials they've used as well, they claim to be thermal resistant to not get too hot when you're touching it, making it a very easy process to snap on and go, and also not distracting too many folks around you while you are getting work done at the same time. Up to 700 lumens for the maximum brightness, which is quite good, I would say, for a small desk lamp. LEDs, of course, are also very energy efficient, so you can just plug it directly into your computer and not draw too much juice. And it's also going to be flicker free. The folding mechanism here is rated to last over 20,000 times, surviving pretty extreme temperature as well as drops as well if it accidentally gets loose. Yet another benefit of having this elevated design is it doesn't block the screen in any way, which might be the case with conventional screen bars. If they're hanging too low down, it might block the webcam or a portion of the monitor if the bezel size is too small. So having this elevation arm has one more benefit there, in addition to, again, having a wider coverage of the surface being illuminated. And it's also a winner of a red dot design. Now the packaging that it comes in is really sustainable because it's entirely made out of cardboard. So when you're done, it can all be recycled, and it's surprisingly compact because, again, this is more of a laptop design bar, so it's not going to be as long perhaps as their monitor version of this product. Simply open up the tape, and on the inside here it just tells you we have all of those contents wrapped in this felt-like pouch, which is, again, a pretty nice extra that you get. And then down below here is where we have the laptop bar, as well as a USB Type-C to Type-A cable, plus the piece that snaps onto the lamp and onto the back of your computer. And last but not least, you also find the kind of magnets that can be stuck onto the back of your laptop to hang everything into place. So here it is next to a smartphone that is about 6.5 inches, and it just weighs next to nothing, despite the fact that the entire build here is made out of metal and aluminum. So it feels sturdy, but just surprisingly small and light, and can fit into this nearly pencil pouch sized, again, little bag into your backpack when you're on the move. There is, again, a ambient light sensor on the very top that can change the color temperature and brightness automatically. Plus this thing here is touch sensitive using this strip that you can slide using your fingers. And this mount here is actually permanently attached onto, again, the sensors, so it doesn't actually come off. You only need to snap it onto the back component for everything to work. And this part is, again, having some metal accents going on, magnetic pogo contacts, and then everything aligns with a pretty satisfying thump, as you can tell. It even has a built-in battery, which I was not really expecting there, so if you unplug it from your computer, it can still operate as is. Simply recharges using a Type-C port, and then very similar to a power bank, you can tell there are 4 LEDs that tell you the status by 25% increments of how much is left. So pretty thoughtful, and even the strip here for the color temperature is color coordinated, surprisingly, getting colder versus warmer. You can see it quite easily just by sliding along. And of course the bright LEDs on both sides will then be lit. Very stable as far as the magnetic connection is concerned, doesn't feel like it's going to fall loose anytime soon. On the very bottom here we have just a BenQ logo. Now what is clever here is that the mechanism for changing the tilt is actually done using the magnetic end that attaches onto this essentially power bank. I'll also mention that aside from the magnetic piece that can snap onto the back of your computer that looks like this, adding just a hair of thickness, not too bad. There is a microfiber cleaning cloth as well. That's a thoughtful extra that you can use to wipe off any grease. As far as this installation process, there are actually 2 of these included, just in slightly different colors, because your laptop maybe is slightly more of a darker shade versus lighter shade. You can pick the matching one accordingly. This piece of paper can also act as a guide. So just put this onto the end here so so it touches the edge, and this is the middle spot where you can attach the sticky. These magnets, by the way, are also coated in a layer of soft touch rubber on the outside, making it actually quite soft and not cold to the touch. What's also quite clever here is if you need to remove it in the future, it's a very easy process because the bottom tab is technically still left untouched. You can just then peel it off from the bottom edge if you're not satisfied or you want to remove it from your computer for any reason. And this is what it looks like once everything is done. Just a small little sticker, not bad at all, can still slide into sleeves and backpacks really without any problems at all. And by the way, here's just a quick size comparison with the monitor version of the BenQ lamp. So it's almost 2 times longer there when it comes to the size. It almost looks like a baby version. And next, just snapping it onto the magnet here, the part which has these 2 grooves is basically the magnetic end, and it snaps into it with a pretty satisfying click. And here is just a quick profile view. What's smart is that it's all done using magnets. It doesn't have any moving mechanisms for making it taller versus closer to the monitor. You just have to use the magnet to pull it higher or lower, since the entire strip here is magnetic. And the magnet is strong enough to hold its position regardless of which part you're on, either higher or lower. It all seems to be doing pretty well. And now here's what it looks like on the front in the slightly more elevated position. I'll also mention that, interestingly enough, there's a gesture for turning the lamp on and off, and it uses the proximity sensor to also turn it on like so. You can wave it again to turn it completely off, and it's actually quite accurate. Now this is also a further down position, and you can tell it's going to be closer to the top bezel of your display, but you can still change the angle just using the hinge there, further back, lower down to kind of cover up the camera even if you wanted to. And the brightness of the lamp is also satisfactory. Even if it's your only source of lighting in the room, you can still use it to, again, see the keyboard. If you don't have a backlit model, here it is in terms of the reading experience down below, and it still is comfortable as you're getting some work done here on the side. And it doesn't leave too much space around you to be fully lit for distracting other people. So for example, on the back of the laptop, it will still be completely dark. It kind of cuts out cleverly with the screen's position. A great alternative to something like a regular desk lamp without having to occupy additional space, since this one is just clamped onto the top of your monitor. It's light enough, it doesn't really distract or impede on the hinges functionality either. It still feels firm. And when you position the lamp correctly, it should not cast any glares or reflections on the screen itself because it has to be facing downwards away from the monitor, as you can tell. There's also a slight button on the side that you can touch on to turn into a neutral white light mode. Alternatively, you can go into the color mode here just by tapping on there instead. That can be used to fine adjust properties like making it super cold versus really warm accordingly. Furthermore, you can long hold on the side button for a couple of seconds to enter the brightness control mode. It will flash for a second, and now you can change it to be either brighter versus dimmer. And on a full charge at around 50% brightness, it can last for close to 3 hours before I have to recharge it again pretty quickly, or just plug it into a Type A port on your computer and you're ready to go. And now here's another quick demo of elevating the height further up, and now you can tell how the sides of the device are still going to be illuminated, so someone is around you, they can still get part of the light if you just want to cover a higher surface. So that is more or less it as far as our quick hands-on review of the BenQ LaptopBar, and I'm not too surprised that this is pretty much the best laptop monitor bar that I've ever tested, considering that this is, again, a company that pretty much started this entire trend. And so if you are a road warrior constantly trying to get work done when on the go with your laptop, I think this is actually going to be a great choice as a lighting piece for a more comfortable working environment, and also if you're doing things like reading at the same time. So you can check out more details if interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the very clever BenQ LaptopBar.